welcome to the Design Rescue Show, where we take a behind-the-scenes look at the unique journeys of creative professionals, and we learn about the choices they've made that have shaped their career paths. Hello, everybody. Thank you again for joining us today. I am your host, David Block. Today, we're joined by video designer Jared Allmond. Jared, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this show is basically an exploration, kind of a behind the scenes look at your career journey. And so, what I like to do is go back to the very beginning. I like to start back at where you got your initial interest in the design or the creative industry, I should say. So what was it that sparked your interest in filmmaking and sound engineering? Was there a film, or was there an album, or was there something in your life that sort of made you want to go in that direction?
Yeah, it's kind of twofold. So I've always been into storytelling in general, right? In some form or another, whether it be films or television or books, whatever. So I've just always loved the art of good storytelling. So that's kind of an overarching look at how I got into creative stuff. But my dad moved us out here from the East Coast when I was like just a wee little one. I believe I was 2 years old, and he started his journey into building his recording studios. He had a series of recording studios where he would bring in a bunch of mainly gospel and jazz artists to record their albums, local guys in Orange County and LA and stuff like that. And it was a pretty lucrative business for him. So, just growing up in that environment, I got a lot of the sound and audio kind of world through osmosis, I guess. So right out of high school, I didn't necessarily know exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm like, I might as well just do what I know. And I got into doing not sound design directly, but doing an audio recording type of path in school.
Mhm.
And through that path, I found my way into doing sound design for film in film school. So being in film school, I just got a lot of inspiration from all the great films that we would watch there. So I mean, I could rattle off hundreds, probably of films, but I think just in general, being immersed in that environment in school really pushed me to just want to. I just wanted to do it all. I wanted to do sound design. I wanted to do music composition because I'm a musician as well. I wanted to do cinematography. I wanted to do editing. I wanted to direct. So it's kind of like I didn't pigeonhole myself, and I've just kind of found myself here where I'm at now because of that. I think because of my wide range of skills, I'm able to do the job that I do today. So I,
Excellent.
I
Okay.
hope that answers your question. So,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's talking about where your interest came from, for sure. And so, in let's go to some of your first kind of projects. I'm curious, the early projects, either sound or film. Were there any that you could talk about that gave you a challenge?
yeah. So I think one thing you learn, or at least I've learned, and a lot of my peers, I feel like we have this conversation a lot, is you learn that you quickly learn that things aren't going to be as easy as you might have pictured them to be in your head before you started them, right? So even just the journey of something itself, like, oh, I'm going to go to school, and when I graduate, I will be, you know, a full-time filmmaker or whatever. Even on that level, but down to the level of, oh, hey guys, let's do a short film. Let's get everything together and that we have all our resources and do a short film. And you come to learn quickly that you have to do a lot more prepping and preparing and all of this type of stuff rather than just dreaming, right? So I learned that very quickly with my first short film, where we set out to my first short film, sorry, that out of school, we set out on a very ambitious journey, and we were set to do something like 60 something shots in one day, and without a whole lot of prepping. It was one of those things where, oh, we'll just go out there and get it. And it quickly became, we'll just say, an overtime disaster. So one thing that taught me, which has helped me tremendously throughout the rest of my career, is prep is, for me, is, I would say, 85% of the battle. If you prep well, you leave yourself room to fail later, but still stay on track.
Right.
So you can do all of your dreaming, you can do all of your kind of improving and whatnot, uh, and experimenting on set, and still make whatever you need to produce whatever you need to produce, as long as you have prepped well.
Right.
So
Right. So, and now I'm curious if you found any unexpected challenges when you were transitioning from sound, moving into filmmaking. Was there anything you were not expecting? Now, maybe prep was one of them, but was
yeah.
there another in the day-to-day operations of doing filmmaking? Was there something that was unexpected?
Yeah, I think the main thing that's unexpected, or you're not quite prepared for when going from something like sound design to, uh, say, filmmaking or directing a film, is uh, I think it's kind of being in charge of a whole operation, right? It's more of the collaborative environment, rather than, lots of times when you're sound designing, you're finding yourself with tops maybe like five other people that you're working with, and that's on like a pretty big film. But if you're, a lot of times with the kind of indie stuff, you're by yourself, or maybe one or two people, right? So and you're not having people constantly come to you and ask for questions. You're not having to like constantly have an answer for something. You're not really having to fight for things as much, because usually when you're doing sound design, you're working for someone else, right?
Right.
You're they've already done the fight for you, and they're kind of, giving you the budget you need, or, whatever resources you need, right? When you're the filmmaker, you're having to do those fights. You're having to go to bat for, whatever you need, whether it be for sound design, for wardrobe, for whatever, sets. Um, yeah, you're having to do those battles as a filmmaker. I One thing I really wasn't prepared for in that regard was going out and asking people at their locations, right? So
Oh,
like if you need, we needed a feed store, right, on one of my first short films. Going out and trying to find that location, and just having to, you know, pound the pavement, go out, knock on some doors, and be like, hey, I'm a local filmmaker, and we need to film at a place. Your place is perfect for what we're doing, and having the door slammed on your face. That was definitely a awakening that no one really tells you about. So yeah.
interesting. So, I'm curious about the creative process. Now, actually, let's move forward just a little bit to your time at Knott's Berry Farm. So, as a video designer at Knott's, first of all, what a fun job! I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds like a fulfilling job. Always something
Yeah.
interesting to do.
Hmm.
It would seem, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Uh,
And so now, before I get to the main question, I'm curious if you can give me sort of a rundown of the types of videos that you produce for them.
yeah. So it's really across the gamut here. It's uh, if anything, for any like show attractions, or sometimes the ride attractions. So like if you, a lot of these rides are themed, right, at Knott's Berry Farm. So you'll go into the queue line for a ride, and it'll be like a themed video for the safety of the ride, right?
Right.
How you load onto the ride, how you buckle the belt or whatever. We'll do some of that stuff. I said shows, like a lot of the shows that I show will have a full-on LED wall backdrop, and we produce the content that goes on that.
Oh, that's cool. Right.
Maze content. So one of our big offerings at Knott's Berry Farm is Knott's Scary Farm, where there are a bunch of mazes, like kind of haunted house maze type things that you go into when you go into that event. And a lot of it is kind of getting more technologically advanced these days, to where there's video implemented into these mazes, to where lots of time it's supposed to kind of blend into the world. So you might be looking through a window in a maze, or what looks like a window, but it's actually a video screen, and you're seeing, some mayhem going on outside that window. Or, if the shutters are closed on the window, you'll see shadows going by, or, just things like this. Projections of ghosts and all of these type of things. And
Right.
we also do a lot of the promo stuff. So a lot of stuff that goes in social media, as well as stuff that gets like B-roll packages and stuff like that that gets sent out to news networks and all of that. So
Awesome. Okay. Excellent. So now I'm curious about how you generate your projects. Do you generate the ideas for the projects, or are you given an assignment or a task to create, to
yeah, so
accomplish?
yeah, lots of times it's very collaborative. So I can give you example of I can give you a general example. Marketing, Knott's Berry Farm marketing may have, a campaign they would like to get off the ground. So let's say we're opening up a new season, right? Like the summer season. The marketing people might come over and say, "Hey, we're opening up the summer season. We want to put out something on social media, and what do you think about doing a fun sizzle reel of some of our offerings, kind of all put together into one fun sizzle reel or something like that." And at that point I might do a treatment, and like a kind of an overall concept and a beat sheet to just show them my idea of what I think can happen. And we go from there. Or another example would be, we'll go back to the maze thing. So maze designing is pretty much a collaborative thing on the design team, because we have scenic designers, we have audio designers, we have lighting designers, we have me, video designer. We all come together after an idea is agreed upon and say, these are the elements that we want in the maze, right? But there's always that one person that's overseeing the whole thing, which is usually a scenic designer. They will say, "Hey, there's a room here where there is a beast that's supposed to pop out from behind a door. So once these doors open, some beast is supposed to jump out and scare the guests. We want to do that with video projection, and it might just end. The conversation might end there, and I'll take it to wardrobe and say, "Hey, we need a beast that's in the vein of what the characters are in the maze." And then I go to props and say, "Hey, I don't know, let's say it's a monster or something, this, or like a Jason type character. Hey, we need a ski mask and a you know or not a ski mask, sorry, a goalie mask, and the machete, and that type of stuff. I will go to the different departments and gather everything, gather all what we need, and then do the shoot. So it's it's pretty collaborative, but lots of times it's just kind of a general idea that's given to me, and then I run with it.
And you run with it, right?
Yeah. If
Excellent. If you're enjoying this video, please take a moment to hit that like button, leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our future videos. Thank you. Have you ever, now this actually just came to my mind. I'm curious if you've ever shot any of your work in 360.
I was involved with a 360 shoot. I was not directing it. So we
I see.
did do a 360 attraction. It was called Fear VR, and it was
Yeah,
very short lived because of a I guess kind of a legal controversy or something that happened.
I
Um,
see.
but it was a very unique and cool attraction where uh, you, as the guest, you would sit into a wheelchair, and you would put on VR goggles, and the wheelchair it had a lot of effects, practical effects going on with it, so it felt like it was moving, and things like this, and the attraction was you felt as if you were being wheeled through a institution, kind of like if you've seen Stranger Things, that those kids, the children are at on
Right.
Stranger Things. You
Yeah.
felt like you were being wheeled through that, and you were seeing a bunch of mayhem going on, just like you kind of saw on the last season of Stranger Things, where the kids start going crazy and blowing things up with their minds and stuff like that. You felt
Right.
like you were moving throughout that, and you can look around and see everything going on around you because of the way it was shot in 360.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, that was
Okay.
and the way that was shot was just with a bunch of GoPros. I think it was about 8 GoPros that were kind of formed into a sphere,
Okay.
and then they stitched them all together and did that. So I actually did the production sound for that project.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
was just curious. It seems like that would be the perfect medium,
Oh
for
yeah.
especially for not scary farms, with everything
Oh
happening
yeah.
all around you.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Very tense and uneasy feeling, having things going on behind you, or seemingly behind you and around you, not just in front of you. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, okay, so I'm curious on that same topic of producing videos for Knott's Berry Farm. I'm curious if you have a specific creative process. Now you've talked about you actually did kind of touch on it. So they give you the idea and then you run with it.
Well, I mean, there's always it just varies. The creative steps in kind of enhancing or plussing up an idea varies depending on what it is. Lots of times we get really bogged down at one point of the year, so maybe you don't have as much time to really use those other avenues to find creative ideas. But when you have time, we will do things like, we'll even do benchmarking sometimes, and go out and look at what other people are doing that are kind of like what we want to do, or watching a movie, or one thing that we do lots of times with a couple of the designers is we will listen to soundtracks, scores from movies, various movies that just give us the feeling of what we're trying to do, and we'll do that as we're working. One thing I really like to do, and this, yeah, I guess this is an inspiration thing. One thing I really like to do is we have a big prop warehouse at Knott's Berry Farm, and the girl that runs props there, she's awesome, and sometimes she'll just let me go up there, give me the key, and I'll just walk around and just sometimes seeing a certain prop will spark, oh, maybe I should do this,
Right.
and then I'll go like, hey, Denise, can I can I add this to the list, just to spark some interest and inspiration. I'll do that sometimes. So yeah.
Great. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. All right. I'd like to move on actually to the next topic I'm curious about is the Hive.
What could we possibly do with the house all alone to ourselves for the rest of the night?
There's people in our house.
You're in our house and we want you out now. Hold on now.
Why don't you come in and we can work this whole thing out?
My wife, where's my wife?
I can't help you. Please. Please stop.
We'll see.
So I'm curious about when you, let me ask it this way. What was the inspiration behind the film? And what was the journey like from the initial concept to the release date?
Yeah, so the Hive was it was an amazing experience, very eye-opening experience, because up to that point it was just a dream to do a feature film, right? So I work with a guy. I have a producing partner, I should say, that we produce. We've produced short films and now a feature together. During the pandemic in 2020, when a lot of people weren't working, a lot of actors weren't working, we were like, we have to do something right now in order to not go crazy, number one, but number two, give some people an opportunity to do something. So we were like, okay, let's pick our brains. And I can't remember which one of us had the idea of what's really unnerving is showing up to what could be really unnerving is showing up to your own home and it not be your home, right? So that was kind of the impetus of the whole idea of the film, which is a couple who's on the rocks go out for the night to try to rekindle the relationship, and they return home and there's a couple strangers there. They're just kind of waiting to terrorize them. So that's the whole concept from the get-go. And it was a really unique experience getting it going that I think not too many people have, because again, we were doing this towards the end of 2020 going into 2021. So we had to be cautious with everything we were doing, even with approaching people, to work on it, because we didn't want to offend anyone, right? That wanted to just be alone and separated from everyone else. So we luckily were able to get all of our casts and crew with basically from a bunch of friends, of either our own friends or friends of friends, they just wanted to work just like we were, just like us. So we pulled together funding by ourselves. We basically pulled all the lint out of our pocket and coins, and we were able to get the thing shot and produced ourselves. And
Beautiful.
We did a lot of post ourselves, as far as editing, initial sound design, initial coloring. I did the music for it. And then we did a lot of polishing by sending it out to other vendors. So we sent it out to a professional colorist. We sent it out to a guy who does polishing on sound design and stuff like that. So,
Right.
and again, that was funded by us. And what we did after that, or in the middle of doing that, what we did is we developed, and this was key for us, we developed a really good looking poster, if I do say so myself, for the movie, and a teaser trailer, or kind of like a pitch trailer. And what we did was we kind of shopped that around to different distributors in Southern California, film distributors, and basically a few of them gave us offers saying, "Hey, we'll distribute this movie for this offer for this rate and all of that." So we ended up signing with a company called Buffalo 8,
Mhm.
and we got ourselves a publicist who put the trailer out there and got us a bunch of interviews with some outlets and all of this stuff, and it released on October 27th on a bunch of various different VOD platforms.
Yeah.
And October 27th, and now it's on AVOD, which is advertised-based video on demand, on Tubi and a couple other platforms. So
Awesome. That's
so,
fantastic.
yeah.
That's a great story. I appreciate you're going into that, and that must have been exhilarating to see it go live and to see your work and up online and in all of these video on demand sites.
Oh yeah.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a big accomplishment. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, for sure, for sure. Now I'm curious about so with your experience in sound engineering, I'm changing gears just a little bit, switching gears just a tiny little bit. So with your experience as a sound engineer, with filmmaking and of course with theme park entertainment, I'm curious if you have any, if there were any industry kind of misconceptions or myths that you found that just simply did not exist. I know it's a weird question.
No, I mean, it's a great question because
Okay.
there's a lot of them. But the first thing that pops into my mind when you say it is you don't need the world. You don't need tons and tons of resources to get something done, right? I'm working on something right now. I don't know if I can talk about it, but I have a really good example of that. Let's just say that I am going to be creating a lot of sounds that or an immersive sound environment for something where once you walk in there, it's going to feel like, if you're aware of sound design and if you're aware of what it takes to do lots of sound design, once you walk in there, it'll feel like it was done at Capitol Records in the Foley studios that they have there, wherever.
Right.
Big, but a lot of this stuff I'm doing with an H6 recorder in a hallway in a building that is not made for sound design whatsoever, just because that hallway is going to sound perfect for what I need to do. And just simply taking over an H6 recorder over there with a shotgun mic and doing what I need to do is going to be just as good as if I was in the most expensive sound design Foley studio ever built. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. Great. I appreciate
that
that.
answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. I know that was a little kind of off sort of a question, but it's just something that hit me. I thought I was
Yeah.
curious what you think about that. Now, to be quite honest, we've come pretty much to the end of the interview, and I've once again thank you so much for taking your time and being a part of the Design Rescue Show. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you for
yeah,
having
no,
me here. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. You're welcome. My last question is, So finally, what key piece of advice would you have if you were to give if you were speaking to teenagers that were interested in exploring creative careers, whether it's sound, filmmaking, design, anything, getting into the creative industry? What sort of advice would you give them?
I know it's cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason. Is if you want something, keep pushing forward to get it. You will eventually get it, right? Creativity is a muscle, just like learning to throw a ball or catch a ball or play piano, or you keep at it. You exercise that muscle, and you're gonna get you're gonna get the best whatever you're trying to get at the end. So even if nothing happens overnight, you may hear a lot of stories, that seem like something happened overnight, but it didn't. At least most of the time, people are pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until they get what they want to get. So it's going to be the same thing for anyone out there. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's actually fantastic advice. And that's something that, we don't always think about. And it's absolutely relevant. Thank you so much. And that does it. So once again, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for having me.